Welcome everybody to Sin City Living. My name is Jason and I'll be bringing you today's episode. As always, please hit those like and subscribe buttons. We have a ton of content for you guys coming out every single week, every single day generally. Occasionally miss a day like I did during the rodeo that is still ongoing right now. And I hope all of our patrons out there are appreciating the patron-only exclusive videos we're putting out with the dice class, putting one out every couple of weeks. And if you're curious about that, go ahead and check the description down below. Once I get this whole live stream thing figured out, I'm probably going to do a live stream on the patron site as well. One on the regular site, one on the patron site. I do have the new computer for it. Theoretically, I have everything ready. I'm just so busy currently with this rodeo. And one of our fans asked a question a little while back about ways to tip us, to show appreciation to us without having to sign up as one of our patrons. And at the time we did not have any way of doing it, but I have managed now to get us signed up with a site called Buy Me a Coffee. As I'm sure some of you guys have noticed from some of our videos, Louie and I are both pretty heavy coffee drinkers. So if you're curious about that as well, go ahead and check down below in the description as well. We would definitely appreciate any cups of coffee you're willing to pick up for us. And don't forget to email us with any strategies, questions, suggestions, anything at all. We love shooting those videos for you guys. I actually haven't gotten a new email in about 2 weeks. And also, don't forget, anybody that may be interested in one of the small Sin City Living neons that we have, just email us that as well, sincitylivingLV@gmail.com. Otherwise, I'm going to go and get into today's episode. So for today's video, it's going to be the first in a series. I'm going to do videos on the 4 core strategies of dice. I've talked about them before, but I'm going to go into a lot more in-depth detail what these 4 strategies are, how they work, why people may play them, some of the variations, and then I'll shoot some videos on how people combine them or blend them to try and make their own strategy. And eventually I will probably link them all together into a very long, probably, video and post that as well. But initially I'm just going to shoot each one of them individually. Some of these may be 2-parters. I don't know how long this is going to go. And yeah, there we go. So the first strategy that I'm going to talk about is going to be the come bet strategy. Come bets and, of course, pass line bet strategies. It's one of the simplest strategies out there, and not as popular as the place bets. Obviously, place bets are the most popular bet. They really are the most popular bet in craps, and depending on how you play and the length of the roll you get, could also be the most lucrative, but come bets would be very, very close second. They do have their strengths and weaknesses like everything else, but let's talk about them. And if you were interested in those strengths and weaknesses, just check out some of our combat videos, and those will talk about it more in depth. I just kind of want to go over the strategies themselves. So basically, this strategy is pretty much based off of the pass line bet, because as we all know, a come bet is just a brand new pass line bet. It's just a pass line bet as if the point were off. It's just betting on the next roll of the dice. So when this is off, as we know, 7-11 wins, 2-3-12 loses, anything else sets a point. So as soon as we set a point of 9, if we put a come bet out, 7-11 wins, 2-3-12 loses, anything else sets a point. Now, obviously, we don't have another set of numbers to mark, so of course it travels within the point, and then the player is welcome to put odds down. We'll just go ahead and do $50 in odds there. So that is the come bet at its basic quick explanation. As far as the strategies that are built around come bets, there's a few of them. It really only comes down to maybe 3 core ones, which would be the 2-point molly, the 3-point molly, and then just the never-ending come. Almost everything else tends to be a blend between the come bet strategy and some of the other strategies. Now, why would people play the come bet strategy? There's a couple of reasons why. The first one is the fact that you can win right there. So some people look at it as a hedge. Again, there's strengths and weaknesses to it. Some people look at it because of the house edge. Now, There are some false perceptions as far as house edge goes, but this bet does have an excellent house edge. Other people like to bet it because they only want to bet a few numbers. So that's where you get the 2-point Molly and the 3-point Molly systems from. 2-point Molly system is basically just betting 2 come bets, and that is it. Now, in a situation like this, if the 8 were to roll, this person would get paid. They would be on and off. They'd be on and off for $75, so they would get paid, but this come bet would still stay, and the player would continue to play it because they only have 1 come bet out. The 2-point Molly system is based off having 2 come bets. Technically, this would be a 3-point because the line bet has a point as well, but it's called the 2-point Molly. Now, if this is transferred already, let's say it goes to the 6, then the player will not have another come bet. Now, should one of these get paid, man, my fingers are slippery. Should they get paid, they will go to an off and on situation, or I'm sorry, an off situation. They will collect, and at that point, they leave another come bet out. Why? Because they only have 1. So this strategy, they want 2 come bets. Now, this strategy, people like this strategy, both the 2 and the 3-point Molly. And the 3-point Molly is just saying that you've got a maximum of 3 points. That's all. It's pretty basic. Now, people like this strategy because they like to have a limited number of bets out. There is nothing worse as a come bet player than doing what I call loading the bases, where you have every point with a come bet, with odds, and then 7 outcomes. You never once got a repeater. That is the most frustrating thing when you're playing as a come bet player. So people that play the Molly system will just play your 2 or 3 points, and that is it. These types of players tend to be in the middle of the pack as far as their initial buy-ins, because playing the come bets requires a somewhat steeper investment than playing place bets. If you're playing come bets, the only reason to play a come bet would be to put odds out. There's absolutely no other reason to do a come bet. If you're not going to do odds, playing come bets is an absolute waste of time. Some people do play come bets without odds. Those people, however, from discussions with them on the tables as they're playing, they have absolutely no idea what they're doing. They couldn't even tell you really why they're doing come bets. They saw someone else doing it and saw them get paid once and started doing it. I actually will see people have a come bet travel and they will take a place bet down. So they have the exact same amount of money risked on the exact same number, only now they get paid far less. It makes no sense. But those people generally just have no idea what they're doing. People that play the 2 and 3-point Molly system, they know what they're doing and they know what odds they want to play. So that's where they go for it. But they only want to play. They don't want to be invested 2 or 3 points worth of numbers. But the reason you have to be kind of in the middle of the road as far as your initial buy-in goes is because this definitely is a more expensive method of play. So you need to be a little bit higher than a lot of people will join. You need to have a fairly healthy bankroll, but you don't need to be rolling deep like some players will with their pretty extreme strategies. Also, people that are playing the Molly system, to their mind, the most dangerous spots are the first, second, and third rolls. So their idea is that, or some people, I can't say everybody, but some people have this thought that if it's a 0.7 out, they break even because they'll lose there and win there. You know, if it travels, here we go, they do another one, and now it's a 7 out, so they lose a couple bets. They have this little hedge as they're thinking. It's kind of odd there, but basically they want to have less invested in the roll, and they tend to believe that once they cross the third roll, they become more likely to have a repeating number hit. And depending on where it lands, it's certainly possible. People that play come bets, they can usually manage to play approximately as long as people that play place bets. I've seen people that buy in the same amount as their friend next to them, but they play differently. One plays come bets, one plays place bets, and they generally play approximately the same amount of time. Depending on how the rolls go, one can get hurt a little bit worse than the other, but again, you have to have more money invested because you need to do those odds. And it makes the most sense if you're playing at a 10 times or 20 times odds and are doing max odds. But you don't really have to. Come bets can definitely make you some money, for sure. And then, of course, you've got your never-ending come bet, where the player will always have a come bet out. Now, this player Their best case scenario is to load the bases. Whereas for other strategies, or for the 2 and 3 point Molly system, they're not looking for every number to roll. They're just looking for 1 or 2 numbers to roll 2 or 3 times. With the person with the never-ending come, this is where they want to get to. When they get to this point, now they are getting paid. They are in an off and on situation. Every single number that rolls that isn't a 7 or a horn number, every single one of these points, they are going to get paid. And because they have that come bet out there, it's an off and on situation. So it's basically like having a place bet in a way. You're just getting paid. You're just constantly getting paid, but your bet is staying up there. So people that have the never-ending come bet, this is their best case scenario, and for the roll to continue on. But remember how much you have at stake. You definitely have to have a lot out there. So people that play a non-stop, never-ending come bet with odds, they're usually on the higher end as far as their bankroll goes, their initial buy-in, because this is a pretty darn expensive way of playing. Now, people that play the come bet strategy, they tend to also, now this isn't 100%, but a lot of players will hedge their come bet. $2 crap maybe for something like this, so they lose $1 because they'll get paid $14. But that way, if that bet comes down, they at least get their money back. Or they'll play a $3 crap check. Or if it's a player that's maybe doing, say, a $25 come bet, maybe they do a $5 horn bet or a $5 crap check. But they do tend to kind of hedge themselves on the come bet roll. 3-way craps, crap checks, horn bets, horn high bets. Some will do the C&E, so they basically get double paid when a yo rolls, when an 11 rolls. But there we go. This is one of the most basic strategies. And it's one of the 4 core strategies. Hope you guys find this interesting, illuminating, enlightening, or at least just plain fun. We'll catch you guys next time. Bye now. So, as I promised, I wanted to go over very briefly our upcoming attempts at a third test live stream. So what's happened so far? The first test live stream just flat didn't work. The problem that I had was was an equipment problem. I had an equipment problem in that the equipment that I was using to translate the camera into streamable video to the computer required a better USB port than the computer I was using at the time. So that one just flat failed because it would not translate into the computer. The computer would not pick it up, would not read it, so I wasn't able to live stream it. So then, as I was looking through, because I'm a little bit of a tech head, as I was looking through all of my other stuff, because I do have 4 laptops here and 3 computers, I did find one that actually did have the newer style USB port. Unfortunately, it was actually my oldest laptop, but I figured, what the heck, let me give it a shot. What's the worst that can happen? And this time around, when I fired everything up, the video was actually translating onto the computer, so things were looking better. But then when I attempted to live stream, the computer was not powerful enough to be able to translate it and then upload it sufficiently. So it basically just uploaded a blank screen for the live stream. So what I am going to have to do is, and I'm already looking into all of my options, I'm going to upgrade my computer so I can add, a 7th, 8th computer to my household. And I'm going to go much, much higher, and I'm going to get a computer that is far more than I need for this, far, far, far more powerful than I need for this. That way, any future upgrades that I may do, the computer will be able to handle it. So unfortunately, this computer is going to cost me about 25% more, about 25% of what I've already laid out in all the equipment for this channel. So it wasn't something that I could just instantly buy. I'm probably looking at Black Friday or Cyber Monday. So hopefully I have it within the next couple of weeks, and then I'll do another test live stream and see if I can go from there. So I will definitely do at least one weekly live stream on our Patreon because they're the ones that are really helping us get this computer. and the other equipment that I'm going to get, because I figure if I'm buying the computer, I might as well buy the most high-end capture cards and things along those lines, get everything as good as possible, and then hopefully eventually get a better microphone for you guys. So yeah, that's where we stand on the live stream. As soon as I have the computer and I do the test, which will be in a few weeks, like I said, got to order it in a week or two, then I have to wait for it to ship. Plus we have probably the biggest event of the year coming up, the NFR National Finals Rodeo. So I'm basically working 2 weeks straight, as is my wife. So not going to have a whole lot of time. But once we get all that under control, then we'll figure out. There's been some schedule changes to myself, some schedule changes to my wife, and some upcoming schedule changes to my wife as well. So hopefully we can get all the scheduling figured out so I know when I'll be able to live stream as well. My initial plan of Thursdays at 6 o'clock is already out the window. I'm at work at that point now. So we will get it all figured out, and we will let you guys know, I promise. And otherwise, I hope you guys have found this interesting, enlightening, illuminating, or at least just plain fun. And we will catch you guys next time. Bye now.